season, but then suddenly off he goes and you're in charge.
Yeah, I think that probably as quickly. Did I think the writing was on the wall? Of course I did. Look, when I've never been involved in a sporting, organisation or heard of one really where the coach comes out and says that he's not going to stay, and then he ends up staying. I just think I've never seen that before really. So as soon as I heard that Simon and the club were going to part ways, like I said before, I think the writing was on the wall. Did I think it would have come this quick? No, obviously not. I think once the announcement went and they said he was going to, I thought there was going to be a few, 3 or 4 weeks minimum. And obviously the way that it transpired was we was getting ready to train. We were only a few hours away from training. We got a phone call from the RFL saying, look, somebody from Leeds has got COVID. We're going to have to do the track and trace protocol and decide which one, if any, of your players are allowed to train, never mind play. And then within literally 2 hours of that, we got a phone call off the powers that be above me that Simon and the club are going to go different ways. And I didn't think it was going to be this week. Did I think it was going to be in the next couple? Probably, yeah.
What was the reaction from the players, Luke? Was it fairly positive?
Look, it's not. Do you know what? We were probably just one of those situations where it were like, we've got a game to prepare for, boys. Head downs. Let's just do this. The paid professionals at the end of the day. They see coaches come and go, and it's unfortunately, the world that I'm in as a coach. It's a bit of a merry-go-round, really, where it's a results-driven business, and at some point in the future, I'll be the one getting sacked because that's just the way it goes. It's unfortunate, but it is the way it is. Modern day society and the way sport is. It's just how it is, and I think the players are kind of ready for it. Really, they just understand that's what happens.
There's been a lot of abusive and disgusting comments on the social media, which is directed to certain individuals, which I think is absolutely terrible. Does it really affect yourself and the players?
No.
Good.
I know this sounds really awful, but I know this is going to sound really, really awful, but Wayne Bennett lives by this quote in meetings with Wayne Bennett, and he says, if you listen to the fans, you'll soon be sat with them. And that's not a go at every single fan. But that's Wayne Bennett pretty much, who's been, let's be honest, he's one of the greatest coaches that's ever... When I was a young kid, I took it really to heart. I once read a couple of fans' forums, and there were a couple of Huddersfield fans giving me some stick when I was younger, and I felt like going around and finding out where they lived and who they was, and giving and it were only as the years grew on, and I think Chris Radlinski once made a good point to me. Me and Sean Briscoe, just before, when we were young lads, we did the same thing. You read a few comments, and we were killing it. We were playing really good rugby, and everyone loved us. And then all of a sudden, we started losing some games, and everybody hated us. And that's when Chris he pulled us aside and went, "Look, you don't ever read fans' forums." And I never did that for my whole career until that one time. And I realised from that you just don't read them. It's not good for you.
No,
it's not good for anybody.
Can I just ask you then, would you be willing to clarify for people, fans that think, that have this idea that Simon was sacked and that it was, you know, that he was wanting to stay and everything like that. Because I mean, I have had discussions and arguments with people claim that it was basically the club sacked him. Can you put the record straight on that?
Yeah, look, you know what, like I said before, I'll be as honest as I can. I'll give you my take on it. But for me, it's Simon and the club are the ones that need to speak about it. I don't want to speak about anybody else's personal journey. Going on. Do you know what? From what I can gather, it wasn't one side. It was a mutual. It was mutual. You know, that's probably the best way I can put it. As in, it were mutual from both sides of the coin. Had their say on how they felt the club should go and where it should go. So, you know, it'd probably, you know, it'd be wrong of me to speak on Simon's behalf. It'd be wrong of me to speak on the club's behalf. You know, from what I can gather, it's kind of it were a mutual sort of agreement in the end. So,
did you have any inkling then that this was going to happen? I just spoke to Simon, or spoke to Andy, or spoke to Richard, or anybody?
No, like I say, you know, all these conversations, you know what, even they're very in-house and close, and rightly so, really. You know, when somebody's future's on the line and the club's reputation's on the line, they tend to stay behind closed doors. Obviously, I spoke to Simon from his point of view, and like I said before, I think it's more of it was more of a mutual sort of agreement in the end. I think both parties had come to basically they decided between themselves how they thought the club should progress and which way forward they should be. And yeah, you know what? From an assistant's perspective, sometimes I'd love to be involved in more of the conversations, but I also understand that, you know, in some aspects, it'd be like you with your employer. You know, if you was sat in front of your employee, whoever employs you, would your colleagues be sat in with you about your personal? They won't, would they?
No.
They won't. Well, they won't. People, for some reason, I don't know what it is. People sometimes view sport as a different entity to employment. I don't know what. It's just, it's rugby, it's football, it's cricket, it's different. It's not. You know, if the Tesco manager, for whatever reason, decides to bring one personal employee in for good news, for bad news, whatever it is, it's nothing to do with anybody else.
Yeah, you see, again, these are down to conversations I've had when people say, no, the club should come out and they should do this, should say this and say that. Well, why should they? You know, it's like the official line is Simon's left the club and that's it, and you're the coach. Move on into it. That's how I see it.
Does the reason really matter?
No, exactly, Steve.
I understand. I do understand that there's a vested interest. The difference is that we all care genuinely about the club. You know, I care about the club. I care about Huddersfield Giants. I know that fans care about Huddersfield Giants, and I know that they've got a vested interest in the club, and they want the club to succeed and do well. So every decision matters, and they want to know what's going on and the reason behind it. And there is a duty sometimes from the club to come out and say why and what and when and where. But there's obviously other scenarios where, you know, even from a legal standpoint, a legal perspective, if it were your job, whether you worked at a builder's merchant, at Tesco, a mechanics, you know, when your job and your livelihood's on the line, and it's very personal, that other people sometimes shouldn't be involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I come in?
Yeah.
When's your birthday, Luke?
It is the 25th of July, 84.
No, just 25th of July.
Is that how old you are? Not year you were born?
I've got a present for you. Luke?
Pardon?
Luke, are you still with me?
I am with you, yes.
I've got a present for you. I don't know what you can see of it. I'll try and put it against the wall where it's possible. Can you see what? It's a horsewhip.
Right.
Now, I'm going to get this to you. I want those players to be afraid to go into the dressing room at half time if they're behind.
Oh look, I've got the best spray in me, I think, as well. I can get I can get quite irate and quite aggressive sometimes if you ask the.
Well, this horse will put, you know, when there's some big lads there, this will sort him out for you, son.
Yeah, well, if you ask the academy, it's not the big lad you're scared of, mate. Just like myself, it's the little.
I can't tell you, I wept with joy on Thursday evening when Jordan Turner dropped a goal in the first half. I was overcome. I was so pleased.
But just going back to your original point, that's where people get it wrong within rugby league. People think that the big lads are the aggressive ones.
All right.
For anybody who sits in a changing room and understands rugby league, it's the little lads that you've got to be scared of, because those are the ones. Those are the ones with a little man mentality that have had to basically fight against the big boys for a long time. So the likes of Aidan Caesar and all the little ones are there.
Andy Gregory, a case in point.
Pardon?
Andy Gregory, a case in point.
Yeah, all those little boys, mate. Yeah, they spent their life fighting above the weight, so they end up being a bit more aggressive, really.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can tell us or not. Have the club given you any indication that if you do a decent sort of job, win a few games or whatever, you could be appointed as a coach, or are they going to look outside?
Oh, I think, you know what? I think they're going to do both. And you know what? If I was them, I'd do the same. I think, you know, due diligence, and you need to make sure that it's the right man for the job. I've said for a long time that we need somebody within the club, and I do feel like I've got this. They need a vision. It can't be a 1 or 2 year plan. It needs to be somebody who one has a vested interest in the club and understands what the club needs to do and where it needs to go, and not only will it be in a better position in the next 2 years, but in a better position from a culture wise for the next 5-10 years, because I feel like you need to set the foundations. We have a lot of good young lads within our setup that have got all the characteristics and makings of good people first and foremost, and good players that we can actually build a squad around. And I do think that it needs to be the right appointment to make sure that we've got that. Look, whether experience, I mean, Oscar Wilde says experience is the name we give our mistakes. Whether they view that as something relevant to them, or whether they actually view it as, you know, I need a little bit more time, you know, I'm not sure. But I do think I don't think it'd be very smart of them not to explore the market and actually look and go, at this moment in time, this individual is going to be the right person.
And all your young lads.
Gentlemen, be on.
Hello.
If they did bring somebody else in, Luke, would you still be happy to stay on as assistant?
Yeah, I would. Do you know what, mate? I like I said before, you know, I've got there's a vested interest for me from the club. I want the club to succeed. I want it to win. I want us to win. I'm not happy as coming. You know, even in my time as a player, you know, we came first, we came third once, we came fourth, we came fifth. We got, you know, under Brown, we got to semi-finals, we got to finals. I want us to win. If the right man comes in and he's somebody that can educate me and help me progress in my career and become a better person and a better coach, then I'm all for it. You know, I'm very much somebody who wants to improve and learn. And you know, do I think I'm a good coach? Yeah, I do. Do I think it's something that Do I think it's something that I'm made to do? Yeah, I do. I think it's something that I'm good at coaching. Coaching's good for me. Am I always wanting to improve? Yeah, I am. I'm not the finished article by any means. I don't think I ever will be. So somebody comes in, if somebody does come in above me and they help me progress in my career and make me a better person and coach, then I'm all for it.
No, because we have seen on occasions where they've brought somebody in, you know, like you're temporarily in charge, or however you want to phrase it, and then we've seen it where they've done that with people and then brought somebody else in over their head, and then they've just disappeared. You know what I mean? It's
no, it's not. Yeah. For me, it's not that. You know, it's
right.
Do I feel like I've been doing? I've obviously been coaching for 4 years. Do I feel like I'm I've learned a lot from the likes of Blue, Stoney. I mean, I've had numerous coaches. In some ways, I've probably had too many coaches over my career, but in other ways, he's probably stood me in really good stead. You know, I've had 4 or 5 coaches, different coaches with the England Knights, the England team at Wigan. I've had numerous coaches at Salford, at Huddersfield, and I've took a little bit from each and every one of them. Some really technically astute, some not, some really good man managers, some not. And, you know, I feel like I've took little bits and pieces of all of them. And, you know, but inevitably I've got to find my own way and understand what I am as a coach. And I've done like this last 4 years, I've I know what I am and I know what I need, what else I need to improve. But somebody coming in above me who's going to help and improve me, I'm all for it.
Dales.
Can I come in, please?
Hang on, Daz had his hand up, Mick. Just let Daz have.
Oh, thanks. Robbo, hello.
Hi, mate.
You keep referring to the right man, bringing the right man in. What attributes are, wrong word, how do you know it's the right man? Because like, we've heard Richard say whenever he's, you know, last 3 or 4 coaches appointment, we've got the right man and stuff. How do you know who's the right man when you bring him in? What does he need to have to be the right man, in your opinion?
Well, do you know what? This is where sometimes the right man doesn't always have to have doesn't have to have every attribute in the world to be a good coach. What you need to do is you need to find a balance between either, if he's a really, really good man manager, his assistant needs to be tactically and technically astute. If he's really tactical and technical, then he needs to have an assistant under him who's emotionally intelligent so that he can relate to the players and build relationships. And I reckon finding that mix between your staff members and your head coach is key. And if you have all the right ingredients and a mix between each individual member, then obviously it turns out to be a good blend of coach. I think I've got them all.
Yeah, we think you've got job, Luke.
You've got some of them for definite. Yeah.
Mick, do you want to go in?
Yeah, sure. Luke, who amongst all those previous coaches is the one who was the best motivator, and how much have you picked up from whoever that was?
Oh, look, I've had numerous motivators. Do you know what? Carl Harrison were a really good motivator, you know, and a decent man manager, but he was quite smart because he had Jimmy Laws who were really technical and tactical underneath him. I've had, you know, I'll go away. You know, Baloo. What Nathan Brown Baloo were really good at being really, really organised. He was really organised, Baloo, and that's probably one thing that I took from him. You know, everything from what colour cone were out that training session to, you know, what time we were meeting on the bus, everything were down to a second. It were really good, you know. But the one coach that really struck a chord with me, and everyone's got different coaches in the time. Mine was Nathan Brown. You know, me and Nathan Brown struck up a relationship, and probably it was a strange one really, because when he first came over, I wasn't supposed to play. We'd just signed Todd Carney. He was supposed to come in and be the main half, and with Nathan Kev Brown was here at the time, and I don't think I was supposed to be playing really, but then obviously Todd couldn't come over, and Nathan was sort of thrust into playing me really. But what happened was we just built up a really good relationship and a rapport, and I just think something clicks sometimes with players and coaches, and he did for me, and he pretty much taught me how to play the game. You know, I said it the other day that he opened my eyes to how the game should be played and the intricacies of it, and from that moment on, my career snowballed really in a good way.
Have you got enough backroom staff behind you now then?
Yeah, look, you know, and we're a little bit skeleton staff, but you know what? Unfortunately, that's just sometimes the way it is in rugby league. You know, some clubs are flush with money, and in this current climate, you know, I know that everyone thinks that Ken Davies got a money tree that just can forever pay, but like everybody at this moment in time, you know, rugby league's been hit pretty hard, and it's difficult. It is difficult. It's difficult for not only rugby league but many other industries. And you know, I spent a fair bit of time the last couple of years spending time with Cardiff Blues in rugby union. I've spent a bit of time with Leicester Tigers, and I've been going and seeing how they operate and the things that we can take from them and the things that I can take from a personal perspective and how I can improve myself. The thing that you just don't realise is how much staff they have. You know, we have one young lad. I'd argue that he's probably one of the best in the business. He's a lad that looks after the computer analysis side of it. Lewis is a genius. He's Lewis when it comes to all this stuff. But we have one. When I went to Cardiff Blues, they had pretty much one Lewis to every coach, and they had a backs coach, a forwards coach, a forwards coach, backs coach, an attacking coach, a defensive coach, and a head coach.
Blimey.
5 coaches and then 5 computer lads to every coach. And the more staff, the more eyes you've got on the field, obviously the smoother the operation runs. And, you know, I realised that when I went to, you know, Leeds Rhinos, for example, when I was academy coach, I was the assistant coach. When Germ first came in, I was the defensive coach for the first team and the 19s head coach. When you go to Leeds, they had 2, Rob Burrows, Johnny Wainhouse, they had 2 full-time 19s coaches. You know, I was splitting my time between being the defensive coach for the first team and the first team 19s. They just had 2 coaches that were just 19s. So some clubs are obviously more flush than others. But unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it.
Steve,
we've obviously heard over the last few days that a lot of these, the latest signings that came to club have been Simon's choice. Do you envisage he's having any problems with them lads, or do you think they'll just knuckle down and play for you exactly the same?
No, I don't think so. Honestly, I don't. Rugby league players want to play rugby league. That's why they're here. You know, obviously, there's certain ones have affiliations with different coaches, and I think they'll be forever grateful that, you know, that Simon brought them in and give them an opportunity. But you know what, when you sit down and you listen to the players, they're committed to the Huddersfield Giants. They feel like we started something at the beginning of the year where we felt like we could go on a run and have a really good crack. And you know, the messages that are coming out is that they'll continue to do that.
Look, I have a bit of a vested interest in the academy side. You know, I spent a lot of time watching them, maybe not as much as Steve, but, you know, what's the situation with the academy at the moment? There are all sorts of rumours that we got rid of one age group, but we've kept the other side. And because the lads who are coming into the first team at the minute are doing absolutely superb.
Yeah, look, I think we can be really proud from Huddersfield club that we're starting to bring things through. You know, you know, obviously done a lot of reading. I've done a lot of research over the last couple of years. Spent a lot of time in leading teams and other organisations where just about how you create a really strong environment, and they're always based around having a really strong youth and having a core nucleus of players that understand the core values of the club and what it represents. And you can bring in the star Australians and the star, you know, Antipodeans, not just Australians, but Antipodeans, where they bring that little bit of class and that little bit of finesse. But your core group, can you hear me, sorry?
Yeah.
I'm off for some reason. Don't know where I'm on 1 second. Just seeing where I am. Oh. Yeah, have you still got me? I can't see you, but
Yeah.
But the core group, you know, are the ones that decide that can really basically hold the culture of the club and what it stands for. And I think we can keep delivering that. Do I think it's going back to the original point about the academy and dropping age groups? Do I think it'll just be an Huddersfield Giants thing? No, I don't. I think we'll fall in line with what the RFL and the other clubs dictate. And you know what? The RFL get a really hard time, but it's a lot of times it's a joint decision. You know, there's 12 clubs that all get a vote. The RFL get a vote, and it won't be just Huddersfield Giants that decide this. It'll be the club and the game as a whole that decides that. Look, we can't afford to have I'm a big advocate of having a reserve side. I think we lose too many kids at the age of 18, 19 that sometimes progress and are latent developers that progress at a different level, a different time scale to other players. You know, some grow later on, some become more mentally mature later on. But unfortunately, again, this is just rugby league. Money dictates our sport. And it doesn't matter what the fans want or what the coach wants or what anybody else wants. If there's not enough money in the pot, you know, to fund two teams, then it'll be one team. And I don't know, you know, I'm not privy to the information and the conversations that the Huddersfield Giants have been having with the rest of the clubs and the rest of